My name is Melissa Cotton. I am a nutrition and health education specialist with the University of Missouri Extension. And I have a helper here today. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Zoe Flores, and I am 7 years old.
Awesome. So today we are excited to be with you for this cooking segment. And we hope that you'll continue to join us at 11 o'clock each day to learn new recipes. So today our recipe is pineapple and carrot muffins. And we love this recipe, first of all, because it's delicious. We made a batch last night and they're almost all gone, actually. But also, when life is a little bit more normal and in the mornings we're rushing off to school and we're rushing off to work, it's a really nice grab-and-go breakfast. And it's good because we know that we're eating healthy and it's quick. So that's why we like it as well. All right, so at your home, the first thing that you're gonna want to do is make sure that your surface is sanitized and clean, that your utensils are, and that you wash your hands properly. So we wanna wash our hands for at least 20 seconds, scrubbing with warm water and soap. And so Zoe has a trick. What do you sing a song when you wash your hands?
I sing ABCs, or you can sing Happy Birthday twice.
Very nice. So that's another trick you can use to make sure that you're getting those 20 seconds in. So once all of that is done, you want to get started. And just so you know, our recipe today comes from cookingmatters.org. So if you just put that in your browser, there's lots of recipes, and it's a really great website because all the recipes use food that you typically would have in your pantry. They're affordable and they're fairly easy to do, fairly quick, because we know life is busy. We don't always have a lot of time to cook and bake. So definitely check that out. And this recipe takes about 15 minutes to prepare, and then it cooks for about 20 to 25 minutes depending on your oven. All right, so everything's clean and we are ready to get started. So the first thing that we need is a carrot. All right, so Zoe, what was the first thing that you grabbed that carrot for me? What is the first thing we did with our carrot before anything else?
You wash your carrot.
That's right, we gotta wash our carrot, make sure it's clean. And then we peeled it with a vegetable peeler. So we kind of did this in advance, but I want to show you. I like to hold the bigger end of the carrot and then peel away from my body. And so you're just getting that outer skin off. And once your carrot is peeled, we're going to use a box grater, which looks like this. And we're going to grate our carrot. Here, can I see that? Thank you. On the side with the bigger holes. And again, I like to hold the bigger part of the carrot and then grate it like this. It might make a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. So we're grating up that carrot down into really small pieces. All right, so when you're done, thank you. When you're done, it's gonna look like this. And we want about 3/4 cup, which it will be about 1 carrot, maybe 1 1/2, but if you don't have quite 3/4 cup, it's okay. All right, so we have 1 bowl that's just going to be for our wet ingredients, and that includes our carrots. So Zoe, will you pour that in there for me, hon? So we poured our carrots in, perfect. All right, and then we want to use our canned pineapple. So the recipe calls for 1 cup of crushed canned pineapple in its juice. Okay, so typically we want to get canned fruit that's in 100% fruit juice. This will help cut down on that added sugar. But you know what? You use whatever you have on hand right now, and we did not have crushed pineapple. So we had chunked pineapple. So what we did was we threw it in the blender and we blended it up to crush it up a little bit, and that's what we use. Sometimes you just have to improvise. So we have our cup of pineapple, and we're gonna pour that in as well. Pour that in. Here we go. Okay, perfect. All right. So next we need a little bit of water. We have 1/4 cup of cold water. We're gonna pour our water in. So typically when you are measuring liquid ingredients, you want to use a measuring cup that looks like this. This is for liquids. And when you are measuring dry ingredients, you want something that looks more like this. Okay, and that's going to help you get a more precise measurement of that ingredient. So try to use that if you can. Okay, so we did our water. Now we need our vinegar. We have about 1 tablespoon of white distilled vinegar, and we're going to pour that in. And then we have 5 tablespoons of oil. And today we are using canola oil, but if you have olive oil or vegetable oil, that'll work well. And actually, sometimes when I'm baking breads or muffins, I will use applesauce in place of my oil. So instead of using 5 tablespoons of oil, I'll use 5 tablespoons of applesauce. So that's always an option as well. Okay, so we've got all of our wet ingredients in there. And now we're gonna mix that around with a fork. Can you do that for me, Kado? So we're just kind of stirring that up. And now we're going to get ready to mix our dry ingredients. I'm going to use a different bowl for that. Okay, that looks great. So let's set that over here. And now we're going to get ready for our dry ingredients. Okay, so first up, we need our flour. We have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. However, to add some whole grains into that, you could do 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour and 3/4 cup of whole wheat flour, and that would add some whole grains. And whole grains are really good for our body because they take longer for our body to digest. They keep us fuller longer, but we didn't have any whole wheat flour on hand, so we're gonna just stick with the all-purpose flour today. So whatever you have, you can make it work. Now you wouldn't want to use all whole wheat flour because that can result in a really chewy, really dense product that isn't as desirable to eat. But you can replace at least half of your all-purpose flour with whole wheat flour if you have it. Okay, so we have our flour in there. Next, we need some sugar. We have 3/4 cup of brown sugar. If you don't have brown sugar, you can use white sugar. That's fine too, but you need 3/4 cup. Okay, so we have that in there. And next, we need a little bit of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we're putting that in there. And also in there was a pinch of some pumpkin pie spice. Some substitutes are optional. If you don't have pumpkin pie spice, you could use nutmeg. You could use apple pie spice. So we got some options there, definitely. All right, so that's all of our dry ingredients. So now we're going to take a fork and we're going to stir that around. Okay, so, and when we did the brown sugar, I forgot to say this, with brown sugar, you want to pack it down, right? When you're measuring it, at least in this recipe, but in a lot of recipes. But with the white sugar, you don't have to pack it down. You just measure it normally. Okay, so Zoe's stirring that around. Another really cool thing about this recipe is that it includes a vegetable and a fruit, and you get grains as well. So Zoe, what's our vegetable?
Carrots.
And what's our fruit?
Pineapple.
Exactly. Very good. Zoe, why do you think it's important to eat fruits and vegetables?
Because it makes you stay strong and stay healthy and prevents you from getting sick.
Yeah, it kind of helps us to feel good, not get sick. Yep, that's right. So we want to make sure that we're eating lots of fruits and vegetables, don't we? What's your favorite fruit?
Grapes.
What's your favorite vegetable?
Cucumbers.
Cucumbers, very nice. All right, so that looks pretty good. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna pour those wet ingredients into the dry, and you're gonna need a spoon. You may want a spatula to help get those wet ingredients out. Okay, so I'm gonna pour the wet ingredients into the dry. So he's scraping that out for us. Perfect, that looks good. Okay, that's good enough, sweetie. So now we're going to get our spoon and we're gonna stir that. Now with this batter, we just wanna stir it until combined. We don't wanna over stir on this one. All right, so we're gonna work on that. And while one person is stirring, another person can get your muffin pan ready. So this recipe makes 12 muffins. You can use those little muffin wraps or whatever to put in there, or you can spray it with some non-stick cooking spray. That's what I've done. And that's gonna help when they're done to get them out easier. All right, so we have that ready. We're stirring.
There's still like powder in there.
Okay, yep. There's still powder in there, she said, so we got to keep stirring. And one thing I like to do, can I show you? Is I like to kind of flip it over a little bit to see that powder. Oh, there we go. Yep, there's some hiding. So we got to keep stirring. Okay, give it a few more stirs. You're almost there. So once that's done, we're gonna spoon it or scoop it into our muffin tins. Now we want each of those places for our muffins to be about 3/4 of the way full because they're gonna rise a little bit while they cook. Okay, so we've got our batter stirred, and to do that, you know, we here at our house, we kind of like to use a little measuring cup, but you could use a spoon as well, and scoop that into the bowls. So Zoe, you wanna start on that? So we're scooping it in there.
Can you do it again?
Sure, yep. It's a little, it can be a little messy, so I'm gonna scoop that in there. Here we go. Remember, we want about 3/4 of the way full. So you'll just continue on down. Now, those of you who may be hesitant about having carrots in your muffins, I will say that, at least in my opinion, you can't really taste the carrots. Mostly, you taste more of the pineapple, okay? And I was thinking, maybe if you didn't have a carrot, sweet potatoes are fairly similar. So you could always try 3/4 cup of sweet potato instead of carrot. Okay, so we would just continue on down the way. Once you get all your muffin tins full, you would want to have an adult help you put this in the oven. After your oven is preheated to that 350 degrees, you're going to put that in the oven and let it cook. And so the time is 20 to 25 minutes. So my recommendation would be to set your timer for the 20 minutes and check them. Because at least for my oven, the muffins were done more towards that 20-minute time frame than the 25. Okay, and so again, once your timer goes off, you want to pull those out, and you'll use either a toothpick, we bake some ahead of time, a toothpick or a butter knife, and just kind of stick it in the middle and pull it out. And if there's not much residue, then they're probably done. But if you get a lot of batter on your toothpick or on your knife, then you need to stick it in for just a few more minutes. Okay, so we made some ahead of time. This is what they look like. They're a nice dark brown. And see if we can open it up. You'll be able to see a little bit of the carrot and sometimes some chunks of pineapple. That's totally normal. But that's what that looks like once you get it done. You can freeze these. So say you make some and you don't think you'll get them eaten in time, you can put them in your freezer and then bring them out at another time when you need some. The recipe does say that this is not a great recipe to double. If you want to make 2 batches, you need to make one and then make another. It just doesn't double well. But definitely you could freeze them, and we love them. They're delicious. Should we try some? You think so? Yeah, I think so too. Is it good? Mm-hmm. Really good. All right, so we're gonna link the recipe for you. And again, I hope you'll join us tomorrow for our next cooking segment. Thanks so much. Have a great day, guys. Take care.